Because my legs often twitched during practice, the teacher concluded that he was naturally made for dance. Legs so strong and feet so firm. Talent like this appears only once a century. It was almost tragic that such legs belonged to a boy in that era. He would have laughed if he were learning ballet just to achieve proportion. His father had spent a fortune enrolling him in boxing classes. But even that physique could not solve every problem. I was always drawn to the ballet dancers around me. The teacher didn't mind that Billy had sneaked in, and the shoes that immediately secured him saved the moment. The teacher did not expel him. Giving him a pair of ballet shoes was a gesture of courage. From that point, I discovered a love in life. His talent astonished the teacher. Movements that took others 3 days to master, he could perform in 3 hours, giving a sense of achievement never felt before. The teacher allowed Billy to quit boxing entirely and immerse himself in the love of ballet. He carried himself with dignity on the way home. The teacher, unable to overlook the hidden beauty, invited Billy to join the class, but he unexpectedly refused. In the small town, where people worked hard to make a living, a man was expected to be strong and provide for family. When his father discovered this, Billy still attended ballet secretly. Though he risked hurting his legs, if the heart desired it, why fear the long, difficult road ahead? To hide it from his father, he wore a fake boxing outfit daily. In truth, I used a 50 yuan meant for boxing lessons to pay for ballet, support his development. Throughout training, fueled by heartfelt love, his ballet skills improved with every misstep. But soon, waves of anger erupted in the town. People missing from work marched the streets to fight. Billy's father and older brother were among them. Only a few chose to work without necessity. Those who didn't often face bullying and scorn. To this day, the boxing teacher relayed the ballet lessons to Billy's father. His father saw Billy's anger. Naturally, I saw him dancing ballet with a group of girls. After only a short walk, Billy resembled a mouse cornered by a cat. At home, his father was furious, warning him never to touch ballet dancers again. Concerned with proportion, believing ballet was only to build muscle. Even enrolling him with a famous dancer did not change his father's mind. He was confined at home. You may become a marshal in the future, but I will not let you work on Guangzhou in Sirtu, his father said, standing with the composure of a prince, guiding the boy firmly. Finally, Billy was released and ran out the door, unleashing his anger on the piano keys. He despised the town that clung to such traditional views, yet thought if ballet training could not sustain the family, he would regret his father's efforts. With the saved 50 yuan, he didn't need much for himself, but he could visit the teacher's house to request withdrawal. The teacher was surprised, realizing he did not want Billy's future destroyed. She did not want the world of ballet to lose its beauty, so she decided to teach Billy for free and send him to the Royal Ballet Academy. If he were a student there, Billy's future would have no bounds. The summary: he had to endure hardships ordinary people could not bear. Billy Santa Dipsamana was built this way. I met the secret coach and organized a new preparation for his Royal Ballet Academy selection under the teacher's daily guidance. But the bad news continued. As the waves of violence intensified, the corruption group led by Billy's older brother was heavily attacked by the police. His brother's equipment was seized, and he went in search of revenge. Fortunately, their father stopped him in time. This corruption group claimed to fight for rights, but no one wanted it blown out of proportion. The boy, however, spoke bluntly. Since the death of his mother, he had become fierce and ruthless. Their father, unable to tolerate it, struck his older brother hard. From that point on, Billy often caused disruptions during practice. Even when he stepped back, the teacher reprimanded him harshly, continuing training without hesitation. This, in turn, ignited Billy's fighting spirit. He became angry and hid in his room, locking the door, enduring his inner pain alone. The teacher wanted to apologize for what had happened. Billy spoke frankly. The final female doctor studying medicine, Jaxie, said, "You can no longer buy shoes for me." As long as his mother was gone, there was nothing the teacher could do. Receiving this bad news, the teacher felt both sorrow and despair. Yet at that moment, Billy calmed down. Finally, teacher and student put aside all prejudices and began the final training run for selection. The teacher, too, could feel Billy's pain. Therefore, I often took him out to exercise, try to act like a mother, filling the void left by his mother, even if it meant canceling all other lessons. Focused on preparing Billy for the exam, he did not disappoint. His ballet skills progressed rapidly, and his gaze was fully concentrated. This country boy would surely capture the judge's attention. The selection day arrived as planned, but the teacher waited for Billy. He did not appear. The feeling of being forbidden weighed heavily. The teacher went to look for Billy, only to find him running toward the Bee family in frustration. It turned out that Billy's older brother had been arrested for leading the corruption group and had just been released by their father. His older brother's anger was so intense that he had no outlet. He complained that the teacher was training him to have a body that looked like a girl. The teacher continued to explain patiently. The other side showed no respect for ballet, and the teacher could no longer endure it, but was met with resistance. Billy, frustrated, decided to run away in the midst of the argument. He hurt himself while dancing. Dancing was his dream. Expressing pain through dance was his life. He didn't know which path to take to find balance, until he reached the wall. There, Billy calmed down and understood everything. In his difficult family situation, there was no place for his dreams to grow. Christmas was only a few months away, and his father, without money, tried to light a fire. I gently touched my mother's piano. Falling repeatedly made Billy deeply sad, but his father was grieving too. Lighting the piano brought warmth to the home, yet his father's heart felt like ice. Decades of suppressed tears erupted. This man almost broke apart, yet with limited understanding, He had tried his best. The balance of suffering was still incomplete. He went to the ballet studio with friends to dance. Ballet helped him forget his worries, but he was caught by his father. Yet at this moment, the balance was not completely lost. Billy jumped in front of his father and decided to use his passion to persuade him. After Billy finished his jump, my father walked away without saying a word. Billy thought he had hurt his father again, so he ran after him, but his father simply told him to go home immediately without looking back. His father ran to the teacher's house and, upon reaching the door, asked how much the enrollment fee for selection was. The teacher said the minimum starting point was 2,000 yuan, and if they could accept balancing the training, the teacher could reduce the fee by half. But his father, who had no money, still refused. Since Billy was his son, he had to find a way to gather 2,000 yuan. In the end, his father thanked the teacher for his son's efforts, but someone who could barely save 50 yuan. Where would he get 2,000 yuan? Desperate, he had to swallow his pride and return to work. He knew his actions would be seen by the staff handling the coding work. It was unavoidable, but he had no choice. When we reached the gate, my older brother was shouting loudly in the crowd. I saw my father in a car, staring incredulously. Then he drove up, trying to stop my father from returning to work. "You can't go right now," they said. "We'll handle it properly the first time, but now is not the time, not for everything." That room was something we had to pull from. It wasn't sacred, but I would become an ordinary person. You couldn't be angry enough. And he was only 11 years old for all this, just a hot-tempered child. We were preparing for the upcoming selection, determined to help my son achieve his dream of physical balance. Someone suggested taking one of the boys as a puppy, but we refused. We would find him and guide him properly. My older brother also joined in the effort. As the selection day approached, my father and brother still couldn't gather enough money. There seemed to be no solution. My father could only open his wife's jewelry cabinet, but he refused to sell anything. Yet, for my son's future, he finally went to the teacher's place, trusting that his wife would understand. I also supported him quietly. Soon after, father and son appeared in the city, traveling to Paris by car. They arrived at the Royal Ballet School and took in the elegant decorations, walking slowly while observing everything around them. This was the grandeur of a big city. Before the interview, body balance had to comply with the rules. The physical check was first. The doctor pointed out a slight curvature in the spine, but fortunately, it wasn't a serious problem. This was an unusual situation for balance, yet my son held back. My father didn't pay much attention and pushed him into the examination room. Once inside, his body was tense, especially when he saw other candidates observing themselves. The routine steps could be done by hand, but fear made him tremble. The interviewers looked embarrassed, and I knew my son had struggled with the test. However, the next interview was crucial. It would define his boundaries of balance. When faced with the examiner's questions, his balance seemed lost. Father and son sat there, seemingly without support. Without some unexpected occurrence, the selection might have failed. Just as they were about to leave, one examiner called out. My son, Billy, finally spoke. He just needed to jump once. He could forget everything else. In that moment, he became like fire, like a small bird flying freely, like an electric current flowing through him. They returned home safely, but father and son were despondent. The family felt hopeless again. Grandma patted Billy's head and said he could pursue the arts, but Billy didn't care. He barely noticed the movements of the dance. One day, the mail arrived. Father placed an envelope on the table, waiting for Billy to return. When Billy came home from school, he saw the envelope, and everyone watched in anticipation. I didn't want to overwhelm the family with pressure. Billy took the letter to his room alone. As time passed, the balance within the household had never been neglected. Father thought he should grieve properly, so I decided to take the family to comfort him. I learned that my son had been accepted. My father ran down the street in excitement, eager to share the good news with everyone. Before leaving, Billy met his teacher and said goodbye. The teacher's expression was calm, telling Billy not to worry, so that he could continue pursuing his dream with a peaceful heart. Then the teacher returned to teaching the class. Feelings of guilt and worry returned to Billy's mind. My father hugged his son with a sense of sorrow before getting into the car, while his son stepped onto the stage. My father walked slowly behind his colleagues. Over 10 years passed, and according to my brother's account, they finally arrived at the Grand Theater where Billy was performing. Now, his physical balance and skills had made him a famous ballet dancer. He had learned and grown from both his father and brother, performing continuously in front of a large audience. Yet I felt a tension and concern I had never experienced before, pride mixed with worry, filling my heart with complex emotions. If you want, I can help continue to write about your feelings upon seeing your son succeed, conveyed in a powerful and emotionally moving narrative.